Welcome back, everyone, to Merge Conflict, your weekly developer podcast. Frank, do I have the right microphone on? Is this the right mic?
You sound lovely, sir. Even though you seem to be able to speak through a beard, I don't know how you're projecting your voice through that very
Oh,
masculine beard you got going
you
on.
have a beard too. Shut your face.
Yeah, you haven't
Ugh.
been rocking it in a while, buddy.
It has been a while. I don't know why I decided to let this happen, but it's back. It's happening currently. Maybe not for all summer, but I know, especially like for the summer. I don't know. We'll see.
Beards are a winter thing. What are you doing? You're off
Yeah,
schedule.
it's not okay. Basically, no, it's not okay. Well,
It's
I
beta
was
summer, just so
beta
you know.
summer.
It's official. We had a Googlio and a Buildio, so it's on.
It's on. This is your official recap. I do want to do a very quick nano update, Frank, because
Make it quick.
we podcasted last week. You're having a lot of
As we
struggles
do
with the
once in
AI
a
every
while.
week. Every week. I don't know, every week. You're having some struggles with the AI, gave you some tips and tricks and did stuff. And you made something, and you also made a great video on your journey of how you use the tools very fascinatingly in general. But it seems like you had a pretty decent experience
I
happening. Like
did.
things happened. The bits
I
flipped.
did. I was inspired by you saying, I think you're doing it wrong, Frank. So I decided to give it a second go. I think I said early on in the podcast that I had tried JavaScript and HTML, but gave up on it. That was a little bit of a white lie in that I tried for maybe 30 seconds before I gave up on it. Because just from my own knowledge, I'm like, how's it ever going to do this? This is math, man. JavaScript can't do math. It's
Math.
impossible. But then on your recommendation, I decided, you know what? I am just going to sit down and ask it for what I want. And we're going to vibe the AI. We're going to vibe with the computer and the softwares and the engineering. It's all going to vibe. And James, turns out JavaScript can do some math. According to the AI, it just blurted out this code. And I'm just like, no way, that's not going to work. And then it worked. So yeah, I made a video because I had to eat my own words. I'd spent an entire podcast complaining about how I can't vibe anything sophisticated. And then in 1 hour, I vibed something pretty sophisticated
That was
and
just an
made a video
hour?
about it.
That was just an
Yeah,
hour?
no,
Wow.
no. It was I edited it down to like maybe a 25-minute video, but it was literally an hour on the clock, like from creating the directory to me being like, good enough. Let's stop here. Was literally 1 hour. And
Wow.
it was my first time really using that set of tools because I had tried other IDEs before that. So I tried VS Code in the wrong mode, as you explained to me
It's
later.
okay.
I did
Okay.
I did it all in ask mode. I didn't know where the modes. There's build announcement. There's agent modes now, and I should have been doing that. But turns out, if you just keep clicking, it's fine. Um, and the little son of a gun introduced a whole new JavaScript API to me that I never even knew existed. You can do audio analysis in JavaScript. It didn't do everything exactly the way I wanted, but literally like my first statement to it, there's a little clicking. We had to get the microphone permissions working and all that kind of stuff, but way faster. I'm swear, like 5 minutes, I had a spectrogram scrolling across the screen and I was blown away. And then I basically just spent the rest of the hour just fiddling with colors and layout and silly things like that.
Yeah.
So I had a tremendously good experience. So thank you for cajoling me, pushing me to try again. I
Yes.
will say, I think my other mistake was it's just not as good at Swift as it is at
Mm.
JavaScript. It's
Yeah.
kind of that simple.
Yeah, so there's a few things. I'll link to Frank's videos. Very good. You did a great job. You're becoming YouTube pro. And you changed your YouTube account at Frank Codes. Now,
It's
much better.
simpler.
Much better. It describes what it is.
Everyone knows Frank. Frank. It's just
Frank
Frank.
Codes. So I think what's fascinating is, yeah, you were in ask mode actually with GPT 4.0, which was the old default. So I don't know when you
I
last
did everything
updated
wrong
things.
according to James.
But here's the thing: HTML, JavaScript. GPT 4.0 is pretty flipping good at, to be honest. You know, it's not like that stuff has changed all that because you're not even using frameworks, right? So like
No,
that's the helpful thing.
hate
If you were
frameworks.
using like new Nux, Next, View, Redux, whatever stuff, you know, it'd be a little bit much. But what your scope was, it was like really great. Now you're in ask mode, which means it doesn't modify the code for you. It allows you to insert or update in different scopes, which I think is fine. and I do ask, edit, and agent, all three modes. Ask when I want to just kind of understand stuff, or I want to like, I'm not sure yet, but I want to like see what the code looks like, and then I'll insert it. It's a little bit more self-paced learning, I would say. Edit's kind of in between, which is I can use all the same models in Ask, which there's a lot, including thinking models like, O models, and
Right.
also, Claude thinking models. And what's cool about that is it will give you recommendations, and then you can apply the edit. So it kind of is somewhere in between the agent mode, because you're reviewing the code and you're inserting the code. It may not do all the exploration. And agent mode does many things. It does everything that I just said, but it has tool calling, which means that it actually updates your code, modifies your code in real time, can build it, can compile it, can install npm, can run commands, can self-heal, can look at errors, call MCP servers, do all the things for you automatically. And that one's really good because the default's GPT-4.1, but also you have the Claude models are also very good. You have that in Ask as well. And I decided, Frank, so those are the three modes. You didn't use it wrong. You just used a fraction of the power that you could. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say I was using the full power. I just had to click some bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't need MCP stuff. I didn't need tool stuff because I wanted an HTML JavaScript app. Like I wanted that. I didn't want
Yeah.
npm. I didn't want
I
any of
think
that stuff.
I think you would have liked edit more, because in
Mm,
that case, like edit would have shown you it, and then you'd be like applied, and just would have like applied all of it. There was like one
yeah.
click to, and it would have like done a little bit more exploration, where agent would have done a bunch of other stuff and like would have been more real time, which is also really great. But I decided to build a Swift app, boop, today.
Today.
So yes, Microsoft Build and Google I/O were this week, and that's what we're going to talk about here. But one of the big announcements was GitHub Copilot agent mode everywhere. And we know it's in VS Code, has been for a while. It's in Visual Studio 2022. I did a whole video on it. It's been there for just a few weeks, 1714, which has been very delightful to use. And now it's also in Xcode, in IntelliJ IDEs, and it is also in Eclipse. So I was talking to Heather, and she was like, "Oh, I'm very interested in the Xcode integration, and I would like a video on setting that up and using it and building something." So I said, I will do that, because it is not as streamlined thanks to Apple. You got to install a separate app, then you got permissions, then you got to log in, then you got the Xcode stuff, then you log in, then you open stuff, but then it does the thing. And
Okay,
now
that's
you got
cool.
code completion. I actually really, one of my favorite parts of the code completion in Xcode is it'll complete the full line. And then if you want multi-line, you hold down the option and it'll be like, oh, here's all the stuff that it could fill in. That's kind of cool. I actually like that a lot. VS Code do that. And then now agent mode is there. So I vibe coded a whole monkey app talking to my monkey MCP server. And I wrote a bunch of Swift UI for the very first time, Frank, and I am a Swift UI expert. This was built with Claude 3.5, and it did fairly well. 3.7 did a little bit better. Not all the models are there. VS Code has many more models available, but very good ones in general. So I figure you are a part-time Swift developer, and I figured I would ask and see, what do you think? There's not very much code in here. There's like a
I'm
deep.
scanning. I'm reading as fast as I can. So far so good. It knows how to use content shape, which I constantly forget how to use correctly. So bravo AI, you're already smarter than me. I'm a little interested. Like, does the app talk to your Monkey MCP server? Because MCP servers generally run on the machine, on your
Yeah,
dev machine,
yeah, yeah.
not like out in the cloud. Though people definitely want them out in the cloud. So is this actually making web calls, or is this just oh, I never mind. I see it. I see hard coded monkeys.
Yes.
So I think a lot of the monkeys are hard coded. Fine.
Yes.
It's fine. You're just trying to show everyone how to build one of these
Well,
apps.
so what I did is I wanted to see how the MCP servers work. So like I hooked it up to, you can hook it up to like GitHub, or like you could hook it up to databases, or, Playwright, or a whole bunch of stuff, right? Figma, for example. Figma is a good example. But what I did is I have a monkey MCP server, which is like, hey, like, go get me a list of monkeys, visualize them, go get the JSON feed, go
Right.
make this monkey data Swift, and then go like take the data that you just found and do this thing and put it in there, right? It's a convoluted example, but imagine you don't have access to a JSON file. You don't have access to the raw API. You're authenticating in, connecting to a database, getting the schema. You can do that directly in Xcode now, in general, which is really cool. And there's tons of MCP servers out there. We'll talk about a bunch of them. today because there's a whole bunch of MCP announcements as well. Anyways, I'm going to do a video on that on my channel. But yeah, the data, it looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks pretty good.
I would say the Swift UI is perfectly valid. I mean, there's nothing complicated here. You don't have any complex state management. You don't have any complex models doing anything in the background. You're not like spawning tasks or doing anything like that. But from a Swift UI perspective, yeah, it's doing everything right. It's got a geometry reader, which is usually a little bit of a code stink, a little bit of a code smell, as they say. But whatever. we all put geometry reader hacks in from time to time. It's just what you do.
Yeah.
Thanks, Apple.
But
no, for your first app, this is far more sophisticated than my first Swift UI app was. That's for sure.
Yeah, that took me about 15 minutes, so that was pretty good.
Bravo.
That was very...
Way to vibe.
Yeah, if that, I would say the 15 minutes, most of it was set up. So Heather asked me, she's like, how long did it take you to make this? I'm like, I don't know, like 3 minutes. So and then I kind of liked it more.
I don't really have to watch your video because I've already installed the Copilot thing for Xcode. Is that a part of that, or is it a separate thing to get?
No,
okay, no.
Just get the update, and then you open the chat window. The chat window sits side by side. Your Xcode.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Boom,
Sounds good because I already went through all the pain. There are a lot of security toggles you got to toggle.
Background, accessibility, Xcode extension, those 3, I think, and then just like give it permission to everything.
And then restart everything 3 times until it works.
Yes, you definitely do. That is for sure. Just put your machine to sleep, wake up tomorrow. Hope it puts up. Yeah.
No, it's not that bad.
That's what it felt like. But it's all out. So that was really cool. And, that's really cool because all those tools also have MCP support. So the tool calling built into it, so you can extend it. Whole bunch of good stuff going on there, which is really exciting. And what else happened?
So that was not, was that a part of a build announcement? Did I just miss that this agent mode came out for Xcode? That was in there?
My part of build, I got to work on Amanda Silver and Mario's session, which was software engineering and DevOps, evolve with agentic AI. And that was part of that announcement. Satya announced it part of the day one keynote. And then Satya also showed off. So that's agent mode for GitHub Copilot. There's also the coding agent, which is separate. Now, what
I got to tell you, I made a little bit of a mistake, James. I started a drinking game. Every time someone said agent, I took a shot. And so about 15 minutes into the keynote, I was gone, man. So you might have to refresh my brain a little bit. But I do remember Satya starting an agent demo. Did he finish it? Did he finish that demo? Because he had a task assigned to him, and I think he's getting paid some big bucks. He better finish that task.
Yes. I think Kadesha later on was doing a demo and then checked in on his task that he assigned to Copilot, and it totally worked. So the coding agent is formerly what was Project Padawan, which for all intents and purposes, think of it as you have Copilot, in your IDE and code editor, helping you out, giving commands. And of course, you still have like a Copilot, github.com/Copilot, where you can ask it and do stuff. But now, instead of me assigning you issues on GitHub, I assign Copilot issues on GitHub. And Copilot will get to work. It will put together a plan, and it'll start executing that plan. It'll make a pull request in a separate branch. So it'll be like Copilot/fix whatever the issue number is. And what's cool about it is it just implements work in the background and just goes. Draft PR, you can review it. You can iterate and say, I like this, but I don't like this. And then it will iterate on whatever you changed. Whatever you would like. So if you're like, oh no, I really want that in the center. I want this model to be XYZ there. Like, can you do this? And it'll just implement it. And then you can suck it down and pull it back.
I gotta tell you, I kind of love this. This is my favorite announcement in build. I don't know if you ever leaked it or if I ever knew this was coming, but for some reason I didn't imagine it. What I love is, God knows how much it's going to cost. But if I have 20 open bugs, I just start assigning bugs to this little Padawan thing. And you know what? Even if it's only able to do 50% of them, because you know what? I got sophisticated code, man. I got hard problems for AIs to solve. So even if like the success rate is only 50%, it's asynchronous. I don't have to sit there and do a chat window. All I got to do, classic, is write a good bug report. Ugh, that's what I hate doing the most. But, now I'm definitely incentivized to write good bug reports and like really detail out what I want. and then you assign it, and you know, what I like is what I said, the asynchronous, the multitasking. Like, I'm not going to sit in a chat window and click through all the edits and everything. I'm just going to assign it 20 tasks and hope it gets 10 of them done, just like you would any other as a dev lead, just like you would do in any normal product.
Totally.
Gosh, I love it. I love it.
It's really cool. I've been starting it out. I'm going to send you 2 of my feedback flow app, which again was all vibe coded. So I wanted to add a new feature, which was a what new feature. Now you're talking about bug reports, and in each issues and stuff, I don't write bug reports anymore. I have Copilot write bug reports for me because it does stuff, and also feature requests. So I'll go into Copilot either in the browser or in or inside of VS Code or a Visual Studio, and I'll say, hey, this is the feature that I want. I really want you to put together a good like spec, basically an issue, and then I use the GitHub MCP. I'll say, go create that issue for me. Like go do it, and I review it. I make sure it's good. And what's cool is that then it kind of knows some of the code of what it wants to do. So if you were to look at like the what's new issue, you can see it actually fixes issue 35. So I'm going to put a link to this. There you go, link 35. So this is the PRD, or the product requirements document, and this is what GitHub Copilot created for me. So it actually has like in scope, out of scope. I did a whole definition of like what's new, of what I wanted, and Copilot went to work, bro. It like did it. Now it didn't like one shot it. I've had it one shot a lot, but I pulled it down and I was like, this is like 90% the way there. Like it didn't get like the what's new right. So like I updated the markdown file myself and added emojis. But like it got really close.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to read way too much code all at once, but great.
Yeah, and I had another issue
for every junior dev. Sorry.
Well, I had another issue that I created. I told Copilot to go review my code and then give me the top 5 issues or recommendations around like code quality, security, best practices that just needed to get done. And this was the other one, this pull request 48. And I assigned it to it. So basically it's like implement proper async await cancellation token and iDisposable patterns. And I was like, go do that. And then it just like did it.
I want to see its cancellation token support, because you know what? No one does cancellation support. You know who especially doesn't do it? Apple. I've canceled so many times on their things. It seems like a lot of their okay so cancellation token support. It literally put the cancellation token parameter into all the functions.
Yeah.
Bravo. It doesn't really do anything with them. As most developers don't bother to do anything with cancellation tokens,
but they're there.
But the thought is what counts, or at least it's one step in the right direction.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. That feels like the halting problem. Like, can you implement cancellation in my app? Everything's like, nope.
Yeah.
You know why? Because it has no code to learn from. Because no developer ever in the history of software has ever implemented cancellation. So that's why. Sorry, off my soapbox.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah, but I was, and there's some good like dispose stuff, and that's good. Now it's up to me. Now that I have the cancellation tokens, Frank, I can actually cancel stuff accordingly if I wanted to, which is actually probably good.
I mean, you do have a task.delay in your code, which is a little bit freaky. So at least you can cancel the task.delay. So I'm proud of you for that.
Exactly. Totally. Anyway, so that thing's really cool. I will say, like,
it's awesome.
So what I've been doing is, I just like pull down like the PR, open it up, build it, compile it, do a thing. And it's pretty nice too. Now I will say this, if you pull it down, I've been selective not to just assign like 20 things to it, only because of like merge conflicts coming in, right? Like, so I'll assign, if I look at my workload and I'm like, hey, well, I'll tell you why. So when I look at my workload, I'm like, okay, I think I know what files it's gonna do. So I'll like assign 2 or 3 that I know won't have conflicts. Only because if it takes like 5 or 10 minutes to do, I also want to not waste precious credits and tokens on like having it fix a merge. Like I could do a merge conflict, but I'm not going to. I'm going to tell Copilot rebase and figure it out. And then it's just going to waste special, precious cycles on this. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, I think that really is the big problem in the future, because I have code bases that are hundreds of thousands of lines of code. So in an app like this, which is 10,000 lines of code, you're going to have all these merge conflicts because it's a small amount of code. Therefore, whenever you change anything, you're changing the same bits of code all the time. But if anyone has any kind of mature app, there are definite discrete parts of that app that can be worked on
Totally.
simultaneously. So I think it's really more of a code size thing and dollar bills kind
Yeah,
of thing.
and like you said, going into your issue and like in doing stuff. So, anyways, besides that, I mean, there's obviously tons of other announcements we'll get into, but um, let's talk about a little bit of open source, because I think around VS Code and GitHub Copilot, there's a few big open source announcements. First, the GitHub Copilot chat extension for VS Code is getting open source and integrated into core VS Code, which is pretty amazing in many, many ways. Did you have a thought on that?
I actually don't have a strong thought because I personally don't fork VS Code that often. Maybe I should be forking it more often. But I do know there are some high profile forks of VS Code. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
all the newfangled AI editors out there, they're all basically forks of VS Code, FYI.
You got the
Um,
windsurfing, you got the cursors of the world. Yep.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so the issue that they run into is there are these extensions that just kind of come with VS Code. When you fork it, you get all these extensions basically for free. These are the core extensions. And I guess Copilot wasn't a part of that. And now it is a part of that. So all these forks, all these freeloaders are getting more open source. Well, they're basically getting Copilot, and Copilot itself is a product. So this is smart from the product point of view. They're getting their product in other people's products more. But it is a little bit crazy because VS Code is basically, whether you think you're using VS Code or not, you're using VS Code because all these other products are based on it. So this is, for me, I don't think it really affects me in any way, any tangible way, but I do find it interesting from a sitting back in my chair, stroking my beard, thinking about the software industry perspective. It's kind of interesting.
It's really good. I mean, obviously, VS Code has been open source for 10 years. I mean, I think like the other part is this helps them to evolve and iterate even faster on things, like keep things moving. And then yeah, get it closer to the metal, right? I think that's the one part that is kind of essential. Like you do see some other editors of the world, any other editor, right? Whether it be a fork or not. There's tons of editors that are out there, right? Like I updated Xcode today,
Oh,
two
yeah.
gig, two gig language model. I think that it installed for some reason. I don't know what it does,
It's
but
opt out or opt in, but yeah,
it's
sure.
opt in. Sure, why not? But it's like, Apple's experience. It's in the metal, right? It's in it, right? They're gonna really finely tune that. So I think like bringing it even closer will finely tune those experiences, and I think you've seen some of that actually, like with Visual Studio 2022. Like it's actually pretty deeply embedded in many areas, like watch windows and call stacks and all these other things with it. And
Hmm.
I think that's like really, really neat to see that evolution. So we'll see where it goes, um,
Yeah, if
and go
anything,
from there.
uh, it's just going to keep getting baked and baked deeper into UI layers. That's what we're basically seeing. Yeah,
Yep.
it'll
Go
be
time.
interesting to see if Apple ever gets around to it or anything like that. But you can say the same for Windows. I don't want to jump ahead, but like MCP servers were announced for Windows Copilots, not just Dev Copilot, but like
Yeah.
baked into the
Windows.
OS. So that's cool because what is an operating system? It's something that runs apps. What is MCP? It's a way to bridge apps into the AI world. So
Yeah.
kind of makes sense for Windows to be able to talk MCP at a low level, at a pretty native level. So it's exciting to see that. That's the real maturity of, for me, that's the signal that these things are properly maturing, is when real operating systems start using them.
Well, absolutely. On MCP, like not only the Windows MCP, but Windows announced themselves like that Windows itself is not only a host and a client, but it's also going to have MCP servers that are built in. Like they showed this
Mhm.
demo of actually like WSL being an MCP server where they were controlling WSL and installing Ubuntu
Crazy.
distros in WSL, but the file system, like all these other things, app extensions are all going to be like app actions or whatever are going to be these built-in MCPs that you can talk to, which means it's like super crazy powerful. And like these editors and code editors and non-editors as well will be able to access these things in a trusted way. And that's like amazing. And then also there's a lot of announcements with Anthropic, not only after build with the new Claude 4.0 is evolving announcements. I've already been using it, by the way, inside of
Ooh,
agent mode. It's
fancy pants.
crazy. I don't think I don't really need it. I've been using 3.5 a lot, but um they've been evolving, not just Anthropic, but with Microsoft and with others, have been evolving the authentication spec. So that's like very far away. So you just be authed already in your main application. So you don't have to worry about that auth tokens, things like that. But also they announced a base level support for MCP registries. So instead of everybody creating their own different registries, they're creating core infrastructure to be able to house registries everywhere. So I think that's going to be nice, aka one-click install, verifiable packages, things like that.
Yeah.
And they even talked about something really neat in the world of MCP. You probably didn't get to catch it, but there's talk. There's no actual talk, but in our conversation corner from GitHub, I forgot what the guy's name was. He's also like leading some of the stuff with Dan on the MCP stuff, but he was saying they're exploring the idea of having MCP general interfaces that MCP servers can integrate with and implement. So for example, an audio interface. We're back to the glory days, baby. So imagine
iDispatch.
iDispatch, right? Your MoCast, your Apple Podcasts, your Spotify, instead of everyone doing different things, you could deeply integrate and everyone can have like a play, pause, whatever, search and do these things at a core level, which could then integrate into the clients like Windows and have like this really great experience. And that was really, 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 really neat to see. On top of the fact that all of this, that they also open source WSL, Frank.
Okay. Let's talk about WSL,
Dude,
but I got to say a few MCP things first.
MCPs, man, they're everywhere. I'm ready.
I know it's not cool anymore, but back in the day, ActiveX was how we did all this. This was how you put a program inside of another program. So I'm going to say, I'm putting my foot down right now, and I'm saying Microsoft's not taking this stuff seriously until they have the MCP to ActiveX bridge, because all that metadata is there. We have interfaces that explain how to use these tools, that explain in detail how to pass data between all these tools. That can easily be auto-generated into a little MCP bridge. So just put my foot down. Windows team, get on it. Come on. Make ActiveX great again. No, that's terrible. Let's not say that. But do you remember Apple created this thing called SiriKit a few years ago?
I do remember that.
We were going to be able to integrate all of our, not even that. I hope you're not. Yeah. Well, we were supposed to be able to finally get our apps talking to Siri. Turned out it was poorly executed. Just not very useful. It only works for audio interfaces. It's funny you brought up that example. Companies have been trying this forever. That's all I'm trying to say. Like this, getting apps to talk to other apps. But I feel like because we're going through this obnoxiously terrible medium called natural language, oddly enough, that is the simple way that, like, yeah, I guess maybe we'll finally get this app talking to apps thing working. Well, and it's going to happen through English of all protocols.
Well, here's a crazy part about it. And like what I showed in my session with Dan and Katie, it was like how it can take that natural language and figure out exactly what you want, but also figure out the parameters of what you want to send it. Like no one needs to know my schema or my GraphQL. I just tell it what to do and it figures it out, right? Like I just worked on the Feedback Flow app and I was trying to parse all the GraphQL queries to GitHub. And I was like, oh my God, like, can I just like write a natural language thing to do it? And I probably could. That'd be way better. And call the GitHub MCP. It'd be like way better just to do that natural language call. But here's the cool part that Mario and Amanda showed in their demo is the new Figma MCP server. I don't think it's actually out fully, but basically what they showed was the dev version of it that Figma provided. And it's basically just built into their Figma app. So their app is the MCP server that you connect to, right? Like how amazing is that? It's just there. You're using it already. That makes so much sense. Like this app to app communication, instead of, that's a cool part too, is like that same thing would work on Windows, on Mac, on Linux, on anywhere you can use these tools with any tool. And it's like, wow. Like I feel like it is the API-ification of bridging these gaps. It's like so cool. Anyways, I just get so excited about it.
Well, that's why I brought up SiriKit and that's why I keep saying we need real OSs to take it seriously.
Yes.
Because why should I write a separate MCP server for iCircuit? iCircuit should just have a little function that gets called whenever MCP gets activated. Because already right now I keep thinking about shipping like a little command line app like
Mhm.
adjacent to my apps that just sits there in the bundle. The problem is it's a terrible user experience today, especially without the registries. Everyone's creating their own registry. There's no good standardized registries. So we're still in the Wild West days of it, but I think we see a path going forward.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
let us take our existing 50 years of all the software we've been writing for the last 50 years and give us an easy way. And if you have a Swagger API definition, there's no reason you can't auto-generate an MCP
Sure,
front end
totally.
for that.
Yeah,
So
it
like,
exists.
there's a lot of this bridge work that we
Yeah.
need to do.
And that's the cool part too, is like, yeah, like the API center and API management like literally does that. You give them your open API spec and where it lives, and it's like, here you go, here it is for a remote MCP server that's like secured with authentication.
Mhm.
And like, of course, you could do a lot more than that, right? Like you could do a lot of crunching and things inside your app and do a bunch of data processing that just your API
Right.
couldn't do if you're housing it in your app. So like, I'm going to see this blend of world where there's these remote things, there's these local things, there's in-app things. It's going to be different. It's going to be built in. And I don't know, WWDC's around the corner, and Apple better step up, bro. Like, I don't know what is
I don't
up,
think they're
but
going to.
like, I just put this little tiny new Windows machine right next to my Mac, and
Don't you start, James.
I'm not going to say it's been 6 months and I'm ready to switch camps, but someone recently told me that you know what you can do is just boot up VS Code, make a remote connection via SSH to your Mac machine from Windows, and now you're just building and compiling on your Mac from VS Code. I'm like, oh, that's not a bad idea. Get the little Windows simulator and do a whole thing. Just saying, and I get a whole full every. I'm just, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting close, man. Like
Uh,
I'm not a Mac OS person, and I love it on like. Here's the thing: I'm a MacBook Air all day today. Been vibe coding, been doing
mhm.
things. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Desktop, come on, bro. Like
Yeah.
let's go. They got it. Go. It's
Yeah.
go time. Like they are not playing games. Google's not playing games. Microsoft not playing games.
Oh
It's go
no.
time. They're go time. So I don't know what they're going to do at WWDC, but this, I'll say this build at least felt very developer focused. Googlia, we'll talk about in a bit, but like we've like literally scratched like 1% of like the announcements of what even occurred
Mhm.
at build. And we're not even going to get into all of them, right? Like there's just
Yeah.
so much because
It's how
I
it
do want to
always
tap
is.
on,
Yeah.
I want to tap on .NET stuff and a little bit
Yeah.
here, but like there's so much I want to do
30
before we even
minutes in.
talk to
Yeah.
.NET. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's a
No, yeah,
lot
yeah.
happening, and I was there,
I just
and it was happening.
I got to make my Apple piece. I'm pretty sure that they've finally gotten the message. Y'all need to catch up. Is it going to happen this year? I have my doubts, but that's where
Ugh.
we're going to leave it. We'll let them in process, hopefully, ideally. All
Yeah.
right. So WSL, open source. You finally got your Bash code. Have you been reading Bash code all day? Are you excited? Are you gonna become a contributor to the
No,
command line?
no,
No,
no.
no.
However, I will say like the Power Toys team and the Terminal team,
That's
they did a
fun.
bunch of cool new things, and they have this new like kind of like command. What's the command spotlight search type of
Yeah.
thing? What that other thing? They kind of have that now, but you can build your own custom extensions all in C# that like extend it, and you can put anything in it. It's like really cool. Been playing around with that quite a bit. That was a pretty big announcement. Yeah, WS. I mean, I think just more cool open source stuff, like saying, "Hey, listen,
Yeah.
this makes sense. Let's get the contributions. Let's get the community involved. Like, let's let it evolve naturally with community members that want to take a look at it and peek at it." And I think WSL and the GitHub Copilot chat all make a lot of sense
And
to
it
me.
makes sense. I just want to make my piece. I always got to make my piece on this show. Subsystems are fun on Windows. The way the NT kernel was designed, it has these really low-level kernel functions that anything can talk to. Most people don't want to do that, though. They talk to Win32 or they talk to .NET or something like that. You could run Linux on it because they just had to write the little bridge between Linux commands and those low-level NT commands. So as a Windows hacker, it's always been fun to write your own little subsystem. It's always been possible. It's always been there. No one does it because it's a lot of work. So it's fun to see an actual fully coded subsystem out there because you could never find a good example of an alternative subsystem for Windows. So if you are a hardcore OS person, it's honestly very few. No other operating systems provide this level of abstraction that the NT kernel provides. And so if you're just an operating system nerd, go read that code. I know I plan to. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I've written my own subsystems. I should say tried to write my own subsystems, and they're hard. but fun. So I'm actually excited to look through it a little bit. So, but most importantly, James, most definitely importantly, the edit command is back. MS DOS edit is back, baby. Um, they have decided for some reason to implement a command line text editor for Windows in this year 2025.
For
VS Code's not good
MCPs.
enough.
For
Does it have
MCPs.
agent mode? I got to see agent mode in this text editor. But I love it because I am an old school DOS user and I loved QBasic and therefore I loved the old edit editor. And
Yeah,
so I find it hilarious that there is now an edit for Windows out there and it's open source. So I just wanted to bring it up because we're in the open
that's
source
cool.
section.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious to see a brand new command line text editor. No agent mode yet. We need to do a pull request for that.
You'd think they would have like, yeah, some sort of MCP server that can kind of like tap into it and do stuff. Like I was in agent mode today and I asked it to like clean up a bunch of code for me. I was like, I want to remove this feature. I was like spread out. And like
Mm-hmm.
literally instead of it just like going through and editing the files, it wrote a bash script and just executed it. Like I was like, what do you
You
do?
gave it full access to your home directory, right? Yeah, just
Yeah, I was like,
yeah. Oh
go
heck
for
yeah,
it, man.
man!
Just go for it.
I trust you.
I trust you. Talking about just command line things in general while we're there. Um, uh, AI Foundry local. This is
Remind
neat.
me about this one. I might have been very drunk.
You know Olama,
Heard of it.
right? You've heard of it. You
This is the run llama on your own machine. So I didn't mean to be dismissive because this is actually really important to me. I've been a pro advocate for running models on our own hardware for a long time. Not just because I'm cheap, which I am. I'm very cheap,
yep.
but also because there's security and privacy reasons, and there's customization. You can make these models do things that Microsoft is never going to have the time to support, or OpenAI is never going to have the time to support. So I've been a big fan of running models locally. Olama is one of the things that allows you to do that.
Exactly. And Azure AI Foundry allows you to do just that. It allows you to pull any of the AI models down and run them on your machine. And it's for Mac and Windows. And it's just a command line app that runs. And what's cool about it is that it's built on top of the Onyx runtime to
Mm-hmm.
optimize performance across CPUs, MPUs, and GPUs. So on Windows, it's integrated directly into the hardware layer and Windows ML across AMD, Intel, NVIDIA,
Yeah.
and Qualcomm chips. And on Mac, it's GPU accelerated on Apple Silicon. And basically, it's optimizing based on the silicon and the device that you're running on and the model
Yeah.
selection, where and what to use on it. So you can pull down all those, run all of them, and it also has MCP support because why wouldn't it?
And
In it
I think
as well.
double check me on this, but I think it also has fine tuning support. Are you seeing that anywhere? Because that's actually for me, it's a big deal because you can get these open source models, but and a lot of times you actually want to fine tune them, train them on your own data, not just prompt them with your own data, not just add your own data as context, but do actual fine tuning. And I think it enables some of those scenarios or makes it easier because if you've ever tried to fine tune, it's quite a bit of work. It's super annoying.
And I believe so. Like I believe because it is anything in Foundry, like I'm not exactly sure how it exactly works, but I'm pretty sure that you can just like run your model that you're tuned on and then pull that down and
Mm-hmm.
do stuff with it, as far as I know in
And then I got to
general.
yell at
Yeah.
Apple one more time. Apple, allow us to program the neural engine. Just allow us to program it. Like this is Onyx is cool because it can access it uses metal, so it can do GPU acceleration. But that's not the only matrix code on these awesome M processors. There's also the neural engine. And on Windows, Onyx can access the tensor engine. I forget what they call it on Windows. But Apple, come on at WWDC, they better announce programmers have access to the neural engine.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, and specifically on Windows, there's a tons of announcements. So there's the Windows AI Foundry, which is an evolution of the Copilot runtime. So this is the unified platform to allow you to select from models, optimization, fine tuning, and deployment across client and cloud. So on your machine,
Yeah.
it has Windows ML, which is the foundation of the AI platform for interfacing with the runtime on Windows. So this is that part that's integrating with the silicon. And then there's also the Foundry local integration, So this allows you to select from the different catalogs that are out there. So you can pull the ready to use models directly on your Windows machine. And then it also basically gives you a bunch of ready to use APIs that you can integrate into your Windows apps. And they announced LoRa support, which is low rank adaptation for fine tuning.
Yeah, that's fine tuning.
Yep.
Cool.
For SLMs, Phi Silica, and with new data as well, and new APIs for semantic search and knowledge retrieval. And they also added MCP support to Windows itself, app actions for Windows, new security stuff inside of the virtualization layer. They open source WSL, like we said, new improvements for Windows developer tools. So WinGet, PowerToys, a whole bunch of stuff. And they also added support for web installers for Win32 apps. So that's pretty cool. So that's just like a whole whirlwind of Windows announcements. I'm just saying Windows was everywhere. So
Yeah.
there it is.
No, I'm only laughing because, God, we've been working on web installers for Win32 apps since I worked at Microsoft in
Yep.
2004.
It's here officially. So, it's happening.
Geez, 20 years. Okay. That's all it takes to write a web app. Fun. Cool.
Beyond that's the biggest announcements I have. There's a bunch of Azure stuff as well that we probably won't get into too much. I was there at Build. We had a vibe coding booth. So for 3 full days, we were vibe coding with a whole bunch of people from GitHub and from Microsoft. Everyone built something. It was wild. There were
fun.
There were Flutter apps. There were Blazor apps. There was Swift apps. There was a whole lot of TypeScript and JavaScript stuff that was out there.
8 billion modules were downloaded.
One of my favorites that they did is they did a VS Code live. This is a blast on the VS Code YouTube. And they did 4-player split screen vibe coding. Mm-hmm. So there's 4 different vibe code challengers all at once.
Don't like it.
And what was amazing about it, so they had like 30 minutes to build something and they let the audience pick. So they had yeah. So
okay. Yeah. Now I'm getting it.
Yeah. So it was like, I called it, I was in the planning meetings. I called it Mario Kart. I was like, Mario Kart, like 4-player split screen where we see everything. And then everyone's like, we're building Mario Kart. I'm like, no, not like Mario Kart, but just like 4-player split screen like this. So they'd have it up and they would go and check in with everybody, but they're like, okay, what should they build? And it was like
improv. It's improv. What's my line or whatever that silly show is called. Exactly. You're doing an improv show. Well, I didn't like it at first because I don't like coding challenges, especially live coding challenges. Like that's just mean. You're just being mean if you're live code challenge.
Yeah.
But if like the audience is throwing out ideas, now it's just fun. Now it's improv. Now it's entertainment.
Checking in with them every 10 minutes and they're throwing them different things. Can you do this? I think what was crazy is I think like Pierce did a 3D. So they all made Frogger. Okay. But they can do it in any programming language, anything. He made a 3D Frogger, but it was like, it was called Corporate Nightmares Frogger, where it was like all things that like, were like meetings and OKRs are like bad things that you're avoiding instead of cars. And then you get power-ups from like work at home and stuff like that. And then I think Bridget made one like for the Dev Containers website where all the things were containers that were moving across the screen. And then I think who else? I think Harold made like a cyberpunk themed one or whatever. And someone actually did 2 games at once. They had the coding agent on github.com based off a spec, create one, all async. And then they made another one that was also like some like crazy one. So it was just like really bananas and like everyone made stuff. So that was quite fun. Then we had the booth going. People were coding for like 2 hours straight. So like real vibe coding, real happening. I added a whole feature to Feedback Flow that basically took in a whole bunch of URLs. So like right now I just have one URL that grabs all the comments and does stuff, but it's all these URLs from all these different places, takes them in, has like, add, minus, do a bunch of stuff. And then it takes all of the comments from that across different sources and does a huge analysis of it that gets reported back, which is really cool. And that was a cool feature. But then I added a share link. Like I added a whole like online mode to it later on as well that I vibe coded. So anyways, it was a lot of fun basically. And being there in person was pretty cool. Me and Beth did a .NET Maui lab with Blazor. It was packed the entire time. That was cool. I went to David and Maddie's session, which was like super, or David's session on Maui with Beth and Gerald. And then I didn't go to the Aspire session, but talking about Copilot, GitHub Copilot's in .NET Aspire dashboard.
Okay, I don't use
Oh,
Aspire, so but awesome.
so okay. So
Ask
you
me
have
anything about this deployment.
okay. So down at Aspire, you have all of this telemetry, right? You have all this
Yeah.
telemetry, metrics, errors, exceptions, traces, all this stuff. There's actually a video on the .NET YouTube. It's my voice and my demo, but James Newton King and I collaborated on it because he's the main developer on it. He called me up at like 1 o'clock his time. He's like, I got to show you something. And then I did this video on it with him. And it's so cool because imagine you have your whole app that's scaffolded and you have all these things. You can basically get insight to all the resources and it can do an analysis of all of the traces, all of the metrics, all the performance implication inside of the dashboard. So when you launch it from VS Code or Visual Studio, you get a Copilot icon because it's attached to your editor. And then
Mhm.
basically you can do analysis and get performance and you can say, oh, explain this trace to me and do all this stuff. So we did a cool demo, which is like, oh, like the database is down. And on the website, you get a stack trace, but it doesn't show you the full trace of all the services and all the things to diagnose. And like it gives you recommendations on fixes and this and that. It's like so cool to see like the other use cases for GitHub Copilot.
Yeah, and I mean, to be blunt, that's where the money's going to be is all the people doing operations because those are the people like in the trenches that really need some assistance
Yep.
because as services get bigger and running sites gets bigger, operations just gets harder and harder. So those are definitely the people that are like we're enjoying it as programmers, but it's the operations people that are truly
Well,
going to benefit from this stuff.
let me tell you about one more goodie because obviously I was working very close with Amanda and Mario and Den and Eric on their session, which was amazing session. And they showed off a new feature, which I think was also in the day one or day two of the keynote, the main keynotes, which is the Azure SRE agent, which is the service,
Right.
the service release engineer. Yeah, something
Sure.
like that.
Let's go with that.
SRE agent. And basically, this thing is in Azure listening into all of your Azure Monitor and App Insights data. And it is looking and figuring out where there's outages, where there's downtime, where there's performance implication, and it's creating GitHub issues and implementing fixes for you or auto scaling things on demand when things happen. So we did this demo where there's like basically this 500 outage of the service. The SRE agent's like, hey, I see something's going on. I'm going to create like a ticket in the system, and then I'm going to create a GitHub issue, explain the issue based on all the logs, all the stuff. And hey, I'm going to scale everything for you automatically so we can handle the workload and so you can get up
Yeah.
in the morning. And then it like implemented a fix basically to like fix the actual issue automatically, all from Azure, hands off. Agents,
And
agents, agents, agents all the way down.
well,
Frank, so many
but
agents.
it's the key is that's why I was drunk 20 minutes into the thing. The key is that it's actually proposing solutions because
Yes.
you don't want the boy who cried wolf situation of you just get your email flooded with you're getting a bunch of 500s, buddy, and you're like, yeah, great, thanks.
Cool. Like that.
Yeah, but it's nice if it says you're getting 500s and here's the code fix. You're like, oh, way better. Let me review
Yes.
this code and see what's going on. So yeah, that's kind of the holy grail of all this operation stuff.
Yeah. So operations, man, ops. I never thought I would think or get so excited about ops and auto scaling, but it's
I'm
all
still happy I
there.
don't have to do it, but I'm glad there are the troopers out there doing it, and I'm glad they're getting some assistance.
It's very true. Um, Anything else from build? I mean, I can give you my TLDR. I mean, the
Uh,
rest of that. I mean,
we
everything
got
was
through all
good.
mine. You went through my last one pretty fast, but Fee or Fi or Fofum 4 Mini is in the Edge browser now, and
Ah,
people will just be able to use it. Along with, I love running my models on my own machines. I love running models in the browser because the browser is a pretty great deployment environment. So it's pretty neat that Microsoft's baking it in, and it's just in Edge. So I'm curious to see if we're going to kickstart some new browser wars here. Again, sitting back in my leather chair, watching the software industry, it's fun to watch browser wars happen. So it's fun to see Edge getting some edgy, edgy features into their product, and I'm excited to see what they do with Fee or Fi. Do you know if they call it or Fee or Fi?
Phi, I think.
Fi.
Yeah, Phi.
Okay, how American of them. Okay, so Fi 4,
Yeah,
Fi
I
4
do
Mini.
want. I do want to talk about. So there's some new Aspire stuff that came out. The Microsoft extensions for AI, a whole bunch of like finalization of that. The whole AI story, MCP stuff, evolution in there. One thing that I did want to talk about that technically was out in .NET 10 Preview 4, but Damien didn't want to put in the release notes, even though it was
Oh,
there, because it wasn't
oh.
100% cooked, but it is .NET Run. Give me a C# file.
.NET Run, give me a C# file.
So no projects, no solutions,
Oh, it's
just a
about time.
file.
Hashtag finally. Okay, I dig this because I do a lot of Python programming just because I do a lot of like data science and ML stuff, and it does get a little bit annoying creating projects, even though project files are super small these days. And technically, we've had scripting, but you had to create like a CSX file, and it was always a little bit of a different environment. This is cool. So this is basically project list, solution list. Remember when you didn't have to have a solution for the first time? So it's
Yeah,
project list, solution list, just run the stupid code. I don't have time to make a project file, and I don't have time to tell an AI to make a project file.
it's true.
Fantastic. Hashtag finally. Love it.
Well, I think this is kind of a game, and you can also use NuGet packages as well. So this is really cool.
Well,
And
okay. I'm sorry, F sharp had that, but
yep,
that I'm glad they stole that feature from F sharp. You could just
I
put your
got it.
package references at the top. Yeah.
It's right there. One thing, the reason why I think that this is actually pretty fascinating for scripting is I come from a game background where scripting files are like really important in general.
Mhm.
But one thing that I've been doing recently with AI and Copilot in general is having it write a bunch of utilities for me. So, for example, and also calling into a lot of applications, or specifically writing scripts that can run to do manipulation. So, for example, we're talking about these apps on demand. They're not kind of scripts on demand. So, for example, I recently was doing a bunch of image manipulation. I vibe coded. I've been vibe
Of
coding
course
everything.
you did. It's
Uh,
the only way you code.
Yep. I've been vibe coding Visual Studio Wallpapers.com. So that's a
Oh
website that's
yes.
there.
How have we not promoted that website?
Yes, it's very good.
All the
It's
purple
a
wallpapers you could ever use.
and a few blue ones. Yes. They got watch, they got phone, they got desktop. So the designers, they gave me a whole bunch of files that had like all the wrong names, had all the wrong things, and all these things. They needed the wrong scales. They're all like 28K. There's like bananas. So I needed to like run all these scripts, like rename, resize, update, move files around. And I just asked
Yeah.
Copilot to do everything. I use a lot of Image Magic, which is a great application. It's like one of the
Mhm.
coolest command line apps ever. But I also need to do a whole bunch of stuff and SVG manipulation, all this stuff. And what ended up happening is that Copilot just wrote a bunch of it pulled down a bunch of npm packages, but then just wrote a bunch of script files to run to do image manipulation and resize and like this and all these other like renaming and like all these like weird things that it was doing. And they were just, it's like, cool, we're done. And it just like threw it away.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking is like, oh wow, what would be cool is I could say, hey, generate all of your scripts in C# and use
Yeah.
.NET Run to execute these and pass these parameters to do this thing. And I no longer ever have to like, I could have it run these scripts that maybe I do want to keep, but then I can understand what's happening. I don't have to like parse a bunch of JavaScript or things like that,
You
or like
know,
create an actual app to do something that's going to be thrown away. Like just run the script file. So I think that's kind of cool.
we need a new version control system. Git has been nice for the last 20 years, but like you said, this is happening with me and everyone. You are creating lots of ephemeral, short-term little apps that are just appearing and disappearing. You don't have them cataloged. You go into your chat history and it's 30 chats down and it has a weird summary and you can never find these
Yeah.
things. Git has served us well for the last 20 years, but babe, we got to move on. We need a place where these things can actually get registered and cataloged and saved away and version controlled, ideally at some point.
Yeah.
So I get where you're coming from. Yeah, you absolutely should. You should be generating your thing and just .NET run it. I still see people making fun of AIs that are bad at math. Like, don't do math. Have it generate the math in a code file, execute the
Yeah.
code file. That's how you do math with AI. Just
Exactly.
FYI. But just at a higher level, we need a better version control system. It's time. It's time. Linus, build us something better.
Yeah, I definitely have been. I think I know it's very true. Like I think that one thing that's of interest is all these AI interactions. Pierce makes this joke that commits are free. So he legitimately like has like the script that's like, do you want to create a commit? Like I review it and it's like commit. He's like always committing, right? Commits are
Mm-hmm.
free, but also reverting commits are not free. Like I asked the
No.
AI to revert the commits. It's a little bit tricky. It takes some time to do it. So like you're saying is I actually want these interactions to be version control internally inside of my version control to easily roll back things that are happening in real time. Also, I'm constantly committing. And I was telling Heather, she's like, well, how do you work with it? I was like, well, I'm like, make a change, I do stuff. And I like, as soon as I'm in a working state, even if it's not finished, I commit. Right. But like,
Mm-hmm.
is that really what I want to be doing? Like, I'm just doing it because I'm iterating so fast. I'm not sure how that's how I would actually be working normally. Right. So it is kind of like this weird middle thing right now.
No, you're solving the actual problem. The problem is it can change any file at any time and break anything at any time. Break, definitions of break, but that's the issue.
Totally.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
save isn't good enough anymore,
It's
and
not.
version control is all we've got. But it feels like the same problem we had in 2010 or whenever Git was becoming popular. Version control was hard to use, it was annoying and all that. So Git came out, we all got comfortable with a new standard. We all commit for free.
Yep.
We need to improve version control one more time to keep up with AIs.
I think so. Anything else from Build for you?
Oh, I'm sure we're just going to be talking about it for the next few weeks because I failed to check in on any like C# version 20s or anything like that. I'm still learning my extension classes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure we'll cover more detailed stuff, but we had to talk about the agents because that's what everyone's talking about, and that's what the keynotes and everything were all about.
There's also a new upgrade agent for .NET
Oh
and
gosh,
for Java to help
right.
you migrate
To
and
even mention
upgrade
that
your
one.
applications. It's all in GitHub. It's all super cool. Oh, man, there's so much stuff. We'll continue to dive into it. All of the videos are on the Microsoft Developer YouTube, so you can dive through all of the sessions. Everything was recorded. Of course, you can go onto the actual When You Build website as well. They're there too. But you can go dive through all of them and check out all the videos. So check them all out. There's so much good stuff in there. And they're all
I
there.
want to
They're all
bug
like
you. What is the best YouTube channel for all those videos? Because I sometimes, sadly, I use YouTube for everything. For watching
Microsoft
MTV
Developer.
mostly.
Mike,
Microsoft
Mike,
Developer. That's the one.
Microsoft Developer. That's where they're all
Okay,
at. Every single
great.
video. Yes.
Because every time I do a search, I get the Verge version.
And specifically, there is if you scroll down the main page, I'm going to give you the playlist, but on the Microsoft Developer page, there is a developer tools and .NET playlist. I'm going to link it for you.
Excellent. This is what I'm talking about.
Myself, Matt Sokup, Scott Hanselman, and a few others. We were build architects, which means we owned certain segments, and our area was developer tools and .NET. And that is where you'll see these things. So this one, you're going to see all the GitHub Copilot stuff, the C# stuff, .NET MAUI stuff, VS Code items inside of there. You're going to see the TypeScript one with Anders that he gave, Gen AI talks, Visual Studio. There's a really cool one on how the Xbox team uses .NET Aspire. The Scott and Mark learn to do stuff, .NET Aspire stuff, all the things, basically. This is your main list. And there's one for the Java and the .NET migrations. There's the highly technical talk with Hanselman and Tobe. There's the future of ASP.NET Core. There's, all sorts of good stuff in there, basically, is what I'm saying. 61 sessions to dive through. So you got plenty of time,
well,
Frank.
Thank you. I hope that link makes it into the show notes because that's a great link.
Yes, I will put it.
And there's honestly, I'm sorry, I'm just going to blame YouTube or Microsoft on this. I couldn't find all these videos that easily. So this is great having them all in one place. Really great. Do this.
I'm going to tweet it,
please.
Tweet it to the people. Frank said,
thank you.
I'll say, so at Preclarum, Clarum
is really bad at web search and he needs playlists. Thank you for making a
playlist for all dev tools and .NET at Build.
Look, I'm just saying I want to fall asleep to Scott Hanselman's voice. That's all I want. I just want Scott playing in the background all the time in my life.
I'll say #.NET, #GitHub Copilot, Copilot, #VS Code, #agents, #.
No, stop it.
GitHub. No. Okay. Boom. Now you're gonna get tagged. Great. So I'm sure that'll be a popular tweet. Okay. 1 hour in Googlio. What you got for me, Frank? I watched the keynote recap in 37 minutes.
Oh, I do want to say, you made the comment that Microsoft did was developer focused. I do want to say Google was very consumer focused, which was nice. It was a lot of like consumer end products.
Yeah.
I was excited to see they're giving Google Glasses another go. So
Yep.
there is the Android XR. I'm still a believer in the augmented reality stuff. I still love
Yeah.
putting on my
Yeah.
Googles.
Yeah.
I had my Apple Visions on today outside. I was like, oh, it's really sunny out. By the way, Apple Vision Pro makes really good sunglasses. You just put that thing on, turns the sun down. Life is a lot better with that on. So I was excited actually to see the Android XR coming out. They had all their Geminis because Gemini finally, this is important. We even did an episode on it, agent to agent. It's still there, but more importantly, Google is in on MCP. So
Yep.
Google's relenting and coming to the MCP world that we're all
Wahaha.
embracing. So
Yep.
that's nice to see. And they do have an alternative to the Copilot. Sorry, I like Padawan. Padawan's a great name.
It's
What's
a good
the
name.
yeah
Coding
the
agent.
coding agent? Of course the word agent is in it. They have their own funny asynchronous agent, which oddly enough I didn't get access to the Copilot agent, so I tried out the Google one and it was good. It wasn't as well integrated as obviously the Copilot one's going to be because they literally are GitHub. So but it was able to like analyze my code, come up with a plan for modifying something.
Yeah.
So I'm loving this asynchronous world of doing things. So I think, like you said, Microsoft and Google are pushing forward, and they're doing a great job. The Gemini models, the recent Gemini models, are fantastic. Um, so it's exciting to see true progress happening there. Catch up, Apple. I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll talk about more Google stuff as it comes.
Yeah, I watch. I think that is how I felt as well. Is very consumer focused, especially for the keynote. Heather said that they watched the developer keynote, which I need to go into, but she also said that it was kind of underwhelming, a bit for what she was hoping for, and she's hoping more for more for state of the platform, which we always look forward to in the Apple. But I will
Yeah.
say, like, take note. I think like hopefully Apple can like turn it. Like I would love to see WWDC go out swinging hard on like developer features across the board. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing is like there were tons of Windows features announced, but they are consumer-esque, but also like developer-y, right? Like at the same
Yeah.
time.
And if I had a critique on the Microsoft Build one, I would say it was very enterprise focused this year. It was definitely developer
Mm,
focused, but it was very enterprise focused
mm,
too. I had a
mm.
secondary drinking game, which you wouldn't believe because I was somehow still conscious. But anytime someone books a flight through an AI, that's drink a
Got
whole
to.
bottle of
You got
wine,
to.
So when
Well,
that makes it into the demo, so I believe both Microsoft and Google did that, and I was just like, oof, that was a really rough Tuesday for me.
so Amanda and Mario session, when we were thinking of different things, we're like, oh, we could do a shop, we could do a travel thing. I'm like, no, or
Yeah,
like let's do a pet meetup website.
better, yes,
And then we
please.
all had all of our pets and photos and things like that and real ones. You know what I mean? It's really
Please
fun. So
stop booking flights through AIs,
yeah,
okay? It's a little bubbly, if I can say, like, God, you have enough money that you don't care the price of the ticket when you go or any of the conditions. It's just a little weird, okay? It's weird. So please stop it with those demos. Google had
we love it.
a demo. Apple
Um,
better not.
yeah, I thought that all the Gemini stuff, so much Gemini stuff everywhere. I need to kind of
Good for
get caught
them.
up. Yeah.
Well, it's a difference too because Google's building models.
Yes.
Microsoft is reselling models.
No, we have our own. We have the 5 models and things like that, but it's a little bit
Right, but they're
different,
not
right?
as big.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's just different. Like the Gemini, like, is the game where, like, you're right. Like Microsoft, t- to for better or worse, is like we have our own models that are like really specialized, and then we have all these like ecosystem of models,
right.
right, that we're putting out there, and so is Google, right, with GCP. But like that's really the play. Like even in GitHub Copilot and in GitHub.com, like there's a coding agent, but also they announced that like the Claude Codex thing is coming, and also like the OpenAI like codec thing is coming to
Elon Musk's
GitHub.com.
AI works in it
Like
now, so
all the
the
AI works.
XAI works.
It's all
Yeah.
in there. It's all the AIs are in
So
there,
it's
right?
different
You pick and choose.
strategies we're seeing.
Yeah.
It's different. Yeah, Microsoft is kind of going me, believe it or not, the operating system route. Like, we're just going to make it so you can access all these different things.
You got Gemini in VS Code. Gemini's there. It's in VS
Yeah.
Code. You know, I was like, wild. It's wild. It's bananas. You know what I mean? So no, I liked the demos. I liked the vision of that. I enjoyed like they're making these things, and I'm getting into this world of like I'm not there yet, but like I'm obviously really deep into the coding world and like some of the other things. I'm using Microsoft Copilot on my phone, and I'm interested in the Gemini demos, the recall functionality, the memory functionality, like knowing stuff, doing stuff, like the things that we were talking about a few weeks ago that I was really excited about. Like, I think they definitely showed that off because it is kind of consumer facing, right? Like that's the consumer sort of side of it. And so that was really neat to see. And that they're experimenting with some hardware. I love some good hardware experimentation that's out there.
Well,
that's always gets me excited, you know?
And I have to say, like, they're just crushing it on video generation and image generation. Like,
That was
no
wild.
one can that takes like, I've worked on that stuff, man. That takes so much compute to even get halfway, to get 10% of what they're doing. And that's fantastic, especially the video editing. I know it's controversial right now, but you know what? In 20 years, it's not going to be controversial. Everything's going to be AI generated. So they're definitely taking the lead. I mean, we're going to have these faces and talk in this way.
Well, and you can imagine too, like right now, a lot of like the worlds that are out there, like the virtual worlds that are already CG, right? Like those things are also, there's probably tons of that happening because it's already being CG'd. But then also you think about like recuts and reshoots and retakes and B-roll and all this stuff. Like you'd be able to get different things out in different times, but I was very impressed by the video stuff. I was like, well, it's scary, but like I can still tell.
They're crushing it.
Pretty good, pretty good. Google,
and I like their vision demo that because OpenAI got a bit of a critique for being what's the word? It agrees with you too much. And Google had an entire demo where it disagreed with you. Look at that cool sports car, and it's like, no, that's a garbage truck or something silly like that. It was nice because that's important. It's important that these things can say no to you, and it's very easy to make AIs that just want to say yes sir all the time or yes ma'am. So that was a good demo from a machine learning person who knows like these are the problems that we actually face in the future. It was nice to see it. I think the demo could have been improved itself because it got a little long and it was a little like, come on, better examples. But like the intent, what they were trying to show there, that the model can say no to you. It's nice.
Totally, I agree. I'm gonna dive through tons of videos of the Googlio. I was obviously in person. Vibes were good at Build. It was nice. I'm excited to kind of see how catching up just on videos the next few weeks. I'm glad we got a long weekend here. Maybe I've built 1,000 new Swift apps by then. Who knows?
We'll see. I'm sure you will. We'll see if they make it to the store, though.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's Merge Conflict.ai. That's not a website, but it's a thing. So we'll talk to you. Yeah, exactly. Talk to you next week. So until then, I'm James Montemagno.
And I'm Frank Kruger. Thanks for watching and listening.
Peace.